The boom and bust cycles of economies are a natural thing. Every few years, we get to experience a situation in which economists predict that there is a recession coming. But before the recession hits and we get to see its larger implications, the economy tries to trick us that everything is fine, when in actuality, it is not. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. In this video, we are going to talk about the warning that Robert Kiyosaki has given to the world regarding the economy, which is in the biggest bubble ever. What does he mean by the biggest bubble, and why is it happening? Stick around till the end to find that out. And let's get started. Ever since the world had to face the deadly coronavirus pandemic, everything has changed. Before the pandemic hit the world, global economic matters were on track, and there was nothing to worry about. But since the economies had to shut down to contain the disease, it feels like nothing went back to normal. The global economies today are facing a situation of high inflation with mounting debt, and manufacturers are facing supply chain issues. Governments were trying to get over the pandemic shock, and just then, Russia started a war with Ukraine, which added fuel to the fire. Everyone was concerned about whether the economy will ever be able to bounce back from the shock and look towards the economists and authorities to give some direction. And in turn, all we were getting were mixed remarks. No one was sure what was going to happen next. However, finally it seems like we have an answer. Obviously, it's not a positive one, but it is finally here. So what happened is Robert Kiyosaki, an investor by profession, tweeted that we are headed towards a meltdown. Robert, who got famous for his book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is very well known in both economic and financial fraternities. People really trust his advice when it comes to matters of money, and when he tweeted it is natural that people were worried about it. Before we move on to what is happening with the economy, let's take a look at what exactly Robert Kiyosaki said in his tweet. His tweet goes like this: "Many of you know I do not invest in equities, bonds, ETs, or MFs. Please do not listen to what I am going to say next. I would get out of paper assets. The world economy is not a market. I believe the economy is the biggest bubble in world history. God have mercy on us all." This statement came as a shock to the world. Although there are many parts to the tweet, what really grabbed attention were the last two sentences. Robert says that the economy is the biggest bubble in the world. That was not enough to warn and frighten the world, so he added, "God have mercy on us all." The public has a mechanism in which they ignore the random news about the economy, but Robert's warning couldn't be ignored or made irrelevant by considering it white noise. So what does it mean that the economy is in the biggest bubble? And why is he saying that? Before I answer that, let me give you some background regarding what has been happening with the overall economy and financial markets. So, even before Robert's warning, we saw the stock prices plunging, demand for bonds stumbling, and even the crypto market was colored red. So things were not right, and a short or mild recession was already predicted. But the thing is, many economists like Nouriel Roubini were saying that if the recession hits, it won't be a mild one. He was stressing that the financial markets are in a very bad situation. But the thing is, considering Roubini a doomsday economist, everyone thought he was being too negative. And as soon as the tweet came from Robert Kiyosaki, it simply reiterated what Roubini was trying to convey for a very long time. The real question is, why were Roubini and a few other economists warning about an incoming recession? As we answer this question, you'll find the reason why Robert felt the need to go all in his tweet. So whenever someone has to assess the health of the global economy, they look at how the superpowers are doing. Nations that are in a bad place economically are technically not a good measure to judge the global economic situation. And this time, we saw that the economy of the greater United States couldn't resist the shock, and the Federal Reserve had to intervene. In the past few months, we saw that the overall landscape of the United States economy got transformed. The Fed, as usual, thought that the US has a market economy, and it will bounce back after a shock. But we saw the prices increasing and the curb to the rising inflation. Fed had to increase the interest rate. That's when it all started. Interest rate is one thing that the Fed does not want to alter. If the Fed is taking any help from monetary policy, this surely means something is not right. And since March, Fed has raised the interest rate by 3.75%, and it is still not sure if this is going to stay, as there is news that Fed is planning to give another push of 1.25% to the interest rate. There is this interest rate, and there is debt. Currently, the US economy is operating with a burgeoning debt of over $31 trillion, which equals 124% of the total GDP value. All of these figures predict a very bad future if the US economy goes into a recession. Then again, interest rates and debt are not the only things to be considered. How financial markets are performing also plays a key role in determining the health of the economy. And who knows financial markets better than Robert Kiyosaki? That man made everything from his investing career. And when he says financial markets are not what they seem, he means it. So whenever the value of stocks is down, it shows that the economy is in a dip or a bear market, which presents a great opportunity for investors to buy in. That is when the stocks are temporarily facing a dip and not because the overall economy is going down. Many investors consider it an opportunity to buy equities when the market is down. But according to Robert Kiyosaki, this time, no one should buy the dip. And I guess when you consider his tweet, the first part tells us the strategy that Robert applies in this situation. Equities, bonds, and other financial instruments are a wonderful way to make a lot of money. But when it comes to prevailing economic uncertainty, there can't be a worse decision than investing your money in stocks. So factor in the dip that equities face and analyze it with the policies coming from Fed. We find out this time, stocks are not down due to some market phenomena. They are down because Fed is tightening the monetary policy, which means a decrease in demand and slowing down the overall pace of the economy. This is what Robert is referring to as the biggest bubble in the history of the world. Because if you think you are going to benefit from the dip, then you are in for a surprise. Because a crisis is imminent and is knocking at our doors. The question is when this bubble is going to burst and it all comes falling down. Every bubble has a span during which it keeps expanding. How much it will expand depends on how quickly the regulators identify the forming bubble and what sort of policies they implement to control the situation. This time, Fed has taken the monetary approach, and they've tightened the economy. Their goal is to control inflation, but we don't think they will be able to curtail inflation. And all this interest rate is going to do is inflate the bubble. When people ignored Rubini and said it will be a mild or short recession, Rubini denied that and said instead of a normal recession, this time it will be a protracted stagflationary debt crisis. In simple terms, this means an economy with sharp inflation, rising debt, increasing unemployment, and a slow economy. Basically, a total meltdown. And this is what happens when the bubble bursts. You focus on controlling just one element of the economy, in our case it's inflation, and what happens is that everything else which is not of the central focus comes and hits you in the back. Robert Kiyosaki is one of the biggest critics of the Fed, and he openly says that he doesn't trust them. He says that Fed always takes the wrong measures, which ends up creating a bigger issue. So considering all the facts and figures and the point of view of the economist Rubini, we can verify Robert's statement. Indeed, the economy is in the biggest bubble ever. So if you believe in Robert's theory of the bubble, then we'll suggest you dump all of your paper assets and save your money in the form of metals like gold or silver, or real estate as they carry real value. In circumstances where the economy is in a bad shape, you must have something better than fiat money. The situation we are in right now can't be reversed. We can only pray and hope that some miracle happens and changes our direction toward a better future. Otherwise, we're in the endgame, and may God help us. And on that note, I'll end this video here. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.